Back again with another review here, and today we're going to talk about and review Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which came out last year, and this was requested by Shawn Little. Thank you for the request. The film here is directed by Gil Keenan, who directed Monster House, which I haven't seen. He also directed City Ember, the Poltergeist remake, and the film here stars Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, along with some of the original actors from the first Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, Annie Potts, William Atherton. He comes back here. So let's talk about the plot. The plot to the film here: following the events of Ghostbusters Afterlife, the Spengler family returns to where it all started, the iconic New York City firehouse. The original team is back with a newly developed, top-secret research lab to take down ghosts, and soon they discovered an ancient artifact that unleashes an evil force. Now both the new and old team must band together and stop this evil force. And that's the plot to the film here. Now, to give more thoughts on the cast here, the main characters, they come back from the previous film, but I'm just not a fan of these characters. Paul Rudd I do like Paul Rudd, but his character here and his performance just comes off very indifferent. I feel no chemistry between him and Carrie Coon. McKenna Grace returns as the granddaughter of Spengler. Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, he's still there. I'd even mention now we have a couple of new characters in the film. You have, I'm probably going to mispronounce his name here, Kumail Nanjiani, which later on you get into his story that he's the fire master, and I'll talk about that. But he plays the character of Nadim. Patton Oswalt, he comes in later into the film as a guy that, explains the story, that gives exposition. But like I said, I just don't really care for these main characters. I feel no chemistry between the main characters. I just don't care. I mean, the original team, they have a little bit more to do here. I would say Dan Aykroyd has the most screen time. Ernie Hudson, he's there for a little bit. Bill Murray, I think he comes in around the 1 hour mark, and then he reappears in the finale. Annie Potts, she might have, she has like maybe 3 or 4 scenes. William Atherton, his character Peck, he's now the mayor. Dickless from the original Ghostbusters, he's back here, but this time he's the mayor of New York. Let me get to some of the positives with the film here. Like stuff I didn't mind, because for me there's way more negative for me with this film. I will say that the tone of the film, feels like a Ghostbusters film. There's a little bit more flair. There's a little bit more spectacle. Even the opening of the film. The opening of the film's a little bit spooky. I like that kind of, spooky atmosphere. The special effects, aren't too bad. And there's a little bit of creativity there in terms of the plot. So, like those things I didn't mind. Like, again, there's a little bit more flair. There's a little bit more spectacle. It feels more like a Ghostbusters film in regards to tone and some of the visuals I don't mind. But for me, it's the main characters. I don't give one iota about these characters. That's a big part of the film, because they have no chemistry, no banter, and they offer nothing in the department of comedy or humor. Even with the old cast there, which these guys are, I love Dan Aykroyd. I love Ernie Hudson. I love Bill Murray. Rest in peace, Harold Ramis. Like, okay, Dan Aykroyd has a little bit more screen time here compared to the previous movie. But at the same time, it makes you sad because, these guys are all in their 70s now. They can't do too much. They can't move around like they used to. And while it's cool to see them come back here for a little bit more, meat on the bone, a little bit more to do, at the same time, they can't do much because they're restricted by age, because it's 40 years later, and I'm like, just give us, if you're going to have the original team come back here with more to do, then just give us give us a third film. Give us a third Ghostbusters film, with the original cast. Like, I can appreciate, I'd rather see these guys come back as old as they are than to see these new characters take up most of the film that I don't care for, that I don't care for their relationships, I don't care for this family affair aspect of the film. I'd rather see more as a team, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, Annie Potts, as old as they are, I'd rather see them back in the forefront. But we didn't get that. So yeah, it's hard when the main characters that, take up the entire film you don't care for. Even the stuff that I didn't mind, some of the little aspects of the film, like even the villain I didn't mind. I didn't mind the look of Garaka. I like the idea of a research lab and this possessor villain. Maybe you could have had that be the main villain. This possessor ghost, that just bounces into different objects. And I'm like, hey, make that the main villain. But it's just, there's so many, for me, negatives here. Paul Rudd trying too hard. The humor is non-existent. The McKenna Grace character, she does some stupid stuff in the film. You got this little subplot between her and this ghost that become friends. And this ghost works for the villain. And, McKenna Grace kind of, falls for that. The whole Fire Master aspect in the film, where they need this Fire Master, and you find out that this Nadim character has the ability to manipulate fire, and later on he would come into the final act and help defeat the villain. I didn't really care for that. I didn't care for the actor. I didn't care for this Fire Master or that angle in the film. So yeah, it just, and it's a 2-hour film. It felt way too long, over long. But with all that being said here, and again, I mentioned some things that I didn't mind, to quickly recap, it has a little bit more spectacle, has a little bit more flair. It feels more in tone with a Ghostbusters film. The cast, the OG cast, has a little bit more to do, but they can't do much because they're old as hell. The villain, I didn't mind the look of the villain. There's a little bit of creativity there with the research lab and the possessor villain, which he's not really a villain, but the possessor ghost. There's some interesting, a little bit of fun eye candy in terms of the effects. But, the main characters, I don't care. And they are the main course of this film. And I don't accept this main course. And out of 10, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. This for me is an average film. It's really forgettable. There's some little things here and there that I don't mind. And, I would say out of the original cast, again, Dan Aykroyd has the most screen time. But I didn't, and I don't care for these main characters at all. And I think I've said that plenty here throughout this review. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and take care.